Yes, it's Cindy's choice to celebrate and collaborate our community, Cindy, here on WGOW Talk Radio 102.3 FM, the Talk Monster. Thanks for joining me this evening. And you may have joined at WGOW.com or maybe on live on TuneIn Radio. Or maybe you're catching us on social media as we are coming to you live on the radio via Zoom. And I am recording this Zoom session so that we can share it on social media as well, practicing social distancing on social media. So thank you for joining us there as well. And I just want to say that again. Thank you. Thank you. This is Cindy's choice to be brave and make a difference. And that's what I'm doing, going solo on the radio here with insights from Cindy. And a bit about Cindy's choice before we jump in. Cindy's choice is integrity-centric businesses that care. They care about the community. They want to contribute through collaboration. They honor me by trusting me to manage that collaboration. And you can find out more about these businesses. And I've just got this big grin on my face because there's more and more coming on board. But go check them out at cindyschoice.com. That's cindyschoice.com. This has been a 20-year vision of mine. To collaborate with like-minded individuals, which like-minded is integrity-centric people that care. And that means it doesn't matter about color. It doesn't matter about politics. It doesn't matter about religion. It doesn't matter about sexuality. It's, hey, if you're integrity-centric and you care about your community and you care about people, you have the right heart. You know what? We can focus there and do so much more together. So thank you for joining me here, and thank you for checking out these integrity-centric businesses at cindyschoice.com. So what am I doing here? What I'm doing here is processing with you. Yes, and thank you for being here. I'm just processing in real time with the community, which is a little scary because I'm pretty transparent. And I've actually, I had another platform for a while, and I felt a little safer there. It didn't have quite the extensive reach that WGOW Talk Radio has, and it was a recorded show. But here I am live now, just being transparent and processing with you because folks want to know my story. And I'm so thankful for all the encouragement because, you know, the why, if you don't have a good why, if there's not good purpose behind your why, then why bother? It's like if you're not doing something good, then why bother? We're all on this planet together, and current circumstances and situations let us know more than ever. We've got to get involved and help each other and be positive and find good ways to contribute to all the chaos that we're dealing with during these times, and not give in to fear. When you're doing positive things, when you have a purpose, when you have a positive purpose to focus on, trust me, you will deal with so much easier, because knowing your purpose, knowing that you have a destination, you have a destiny that you're getting to, and that others are going to come on board with that, and it's all leading us to a good place, that will help you hold on to your sanity and survive the craziness. So thank you for joining in. I've done this for a couple of weeks now. And last week, I touched on a little bit about identifying with being victimized with the police brutality issue. And again, I love our CPD. There's a lot of good officers that I've had on my show, including Police Chief Roddy and Police Chief Assistant Dana Vaughn and Detective Rob Simmons, and I could keep listing Christopher Graff. I mean, they contribute a lot to the community and a lot that they do, and I love spotlighting them for those positive reasons. But yes, police brutality does exist. We've all seen some definite evidence of that here recently. But it's such a sensitive issue. It's just so hard to deal with right now. But, you know, I have a platform and I can't be quiet. And there's purpose in the pain that I've had. There's purpose in pain. There's purpose in pain, and purpose will define you. So that pain is now defining what I want to do with my platform. There's some P's for you. But I kind of shared how getting my story out there, it was what we're dealing with is kind of helping me because I was victimized as a child. I had a totally psychopathic mother, and that sounds horrible. I can feel the cringe across the airwaves when you call your mother a psychopath, but it's not personal. I didn't say I hate my mother. I didn't even say my mother was evil. I just stated a fact that my mother is psychopathic, and it caused for just major turmoil in my life. And it caused, it wasn't just like a horrendous childhood that affects you into adulthood. It warps your psyche. It conditions you very badly. So, when you have a psychopath mother, and I don't even know who my biological father is. There was no father present. The people that were supposed to be in the role of my father, some of them took advantage of me and tried to treat me as if I was in an adult relationship with them. And that's what happens when you're with, psychopath is like extreme narcissism. And when you're around narcissist people, you're not protected. They think about themselves. And I wasn't protected as a child, and that I wasn't just victimized by my mother. She exploited me and abused me and neglected me, but it was the people that came around her that would take advantage of me as well because she did not protect me. So I pretty much spent the greater portion of my life in perpetual danger, because what happens when you're groomed in an environment like that is that you not only is that your version of love, as warped as that sounds, that's all you know. If that's the only evidence of love that you have, you go into some pretty major denial. Or in my case, that's what I did. I'm not a therapist, not a theologian. This isn't therapy. This is me talking about personal experience and relating to some situations in our current society that are more evident to me than ever that we need to address and help some folks. And it's truly miraculous, the transformation that I've been in. And that's what I think I'll jump into and share with you a little bit this evening. I didn't know where this was going. I have so much information in front of me, but I'm like I said, I'm pretty transparent. I'm pretty authentic. And if I try to prepare, it feels like performing to me. And that feels horrible. So I kind of get some bullet points, get some ideas where I want to go, have something in front of me so that I'm not running off on rabbit trails and babbling on. But I'm never really sure what I'm supposed to share completely until I start spilling it. So here I am spilling it with you. And again, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I love the community. Cindy's Choice is to celebrate and collaborate our community. And I love you. And I want to do some good for us. It's Cindy's Choice to be brave and make a difference. Listen to me. If you're going to make a difference, if you're going to do good in this world, you better be brave. It takes courage. It takes integrity. And your integrity will be tested. So you better be brave. Everything gets tested. But if you want to do some good, start working on your courage. And trust me, you will become empowered and you will be amazed. You will be amazed at what happens through you, because I just can't take very much credit for very much of what's happening. And it's pretty amazing the momentum that Cindy's Choice has and how folks are starting to recognize the purpose and the motivation of Cindy's Choice. So, hey, we got to take a break already. Stay with me here on Cindy's Choice.
Back to familiar routines with a few changes. Enjoy your time stimulating the economy, but don't forget to make space. Wear a mask if it's crowded and take care of the medically fragile. Stay safe and lock it on the Talk Monster.
Life moves, and we move with it until back, neck, or shoulder pain hits, which brings us to a stop. That's why there's the Joint Chiropractic. At the Joint Chiropractic, we offer quality chiropractic care that's both convenient and affordable. You never need an appointment or insurance, and we're open evenings and weekends. Visit today and keep your life moving. The $29 new patient special, including exam, consultation, and adjustment. Located in Hickson and Chattanooga's North Shore. Visit thejoint.com for details.
Time passes quickly. Before you know it, children are grown, parents or grandparents are gone, and your family has changed forever. A Cancer family portrait can capture those family connections for many a lifetime to come. I am Cindy of Cindy's Choice, and Cancer photography is Cindy's choice because Brad Kanzler is highly revered as a storyteller that uses photography to create distinctive portrait art. Find out more about owning a Kanzler at kanzlerphotography.com. That's kanzlerphotography.com.
Right now, this pandemic has caused so many hardships. The government has extended the IRS filing deadline. You can't ignore your tax debt forever. Perfect Tax Relief can help. Call 855-930-4660. Make no mistake, if you owe back taxes, the IRS can seize your bank accounts, garnish your wages, even take your property. Many people are facing hardships, and right now is the best time to negotiate your debt. Call 855-930-4660 and let our team of tax resolution specialists.
Cindy.
Yes.
So I can participate if you need me to, but I'll have to kind of be far away because I'll have to speak into the microphone if you want.
If your gut hits you, if you feel like authentically you want to respond to something, that'd be awesome. But don't feel any pressure. Did you get that?
Yeah.
But authentically, if you want to respond or something, please jump in. I'm not hearing very well. We're back. Thank you so much. Thank you for hanging in here with us with Cindy's Choice. And I want to jump back in and continue. I was talking about kind of identifying with being victimized by people that are supposed to protect you, people that you're supposed to be able to trust, people that have authority over you. And that was my childhood. Again, it was just constant, perpetual danger when the people that are supposed to protect you are abusers and just cause more conflict in your life. It's traumatizing. And I want to speak to that a little bit. Like I said, that my mom psychopathic, and again, don't cringe when I say that. I know it's horrible to hear somebody say that about their mother, but it's just a fact. I don't hate my mother. I don't know how to hate. I don't have any hate in me. And that's common. I know there's a lot with so many platforms now. I know a lot of people use hate to get popular. I'm not about that. I'm not about propaganda. I want to spread love. I mean, it sounds cheesy and cliche, but I'm telling you, that's what we're put on this earth for. We're put on this earth to love God and love each other. So that is something I've been very intentional about instilling in my life, and I'm full of it. I am absolutely full of it. So I don't hate my mother. I don't even blame her. If I had that victim mentality, I would not be able to transform my life like I've been able to do. And a lot of you know that listen to me, I was literally homeless on the streets 5 years ago. I was alone, homeless on the very dicey inner city streets. And I'd faced homelessness for over a decade. Wow, shoot, what am I saying? I faced homelessness as a child. I was running away at a very early age to escape abuse. So my life started out pretty traumatic. And this leads a lot up to the why behind Cindy's choice, in that I am passionate about connecting and collaboration and helping other people find their way to healthy connections, because a lot of the reason I ended up homeless was I did not have a healthy network of support, but I wasn't healthy. And I had to get healthy before I could attract better. But just to kind of keep me focused here, because I'm not a psychologist, not an expert, not a therapist, like I said, this is just personal experience. So I like to refer to like articles from the professionals. And I snagged a quick article here, The Psychopathic Mother. It's Psychology Today. A psychologist, Joni E. Johnston, wrote this. And I'm just going to read a couple paragraphs out of here just to kind of give you an idea where I'm coming from. And it'll just kind of help me offer some relevance with my own personal experiences. But here it says, research suggests that male and female psychopaths are a lot alike in terms of their core personalities. They are self-centered, deceptive, shallow emotionally, and lack empathy. They exploit others for self-serving reasons, lack remorse for their actions, and blame others for the consequences of their actions. Both also use their charm and physical appearance to manipulate others. Although women may use sex more often, the outright violence less often than men, female psychopaths are quite willing to resort to brutal violence to attain their needs when deceit, manipulation, and charm either fail or are not available. And that is something that brings up relevance in my story, because it wasn't when I would run away to escape the violence, I never, fought back or pushed back or yelled back or anything. That was my way of keeping things from escalating. I would run away. I was 10 years old, sleeping on a rooftop. I remember 12, 13, sleeping in dirt floor garages for nights, several nights at a time, until I just would run out of resources and just have to go home. And then everything was always just ignored. Everything just went right back to the vicious, dysfunctional cycle after that. But it's just, it wasn't till I was about 15 that I had just, I was working full time. I was paying my mother rent. I had never yelled back at her or caused any issues whatsoever. And I lost it one day, and I threw it was after Christmas, and I threw this huge candy cane at the wall, and it shattered. And it was just my frustration, and it had just been building up in me for so long. I didn't throw it at anyone. And that's when she made me leave. When I was 15 years old, I had to get out on my own at that point, because then she knew that it was going to be a risk. Maybe she can't control me anymore. So it was just craziness. But I'll continue reading here real quick. However, there are some gender differences. Female psychopaths are much less common than males and may use different strategies to get their needs met, perhaps as a result of gender role expectations. In comparison to male psychopaths, for instance, female psychopaths were less likely to engage in animal cruelty or physical threats, and more likely to use flirting and verbal manipulation. In addition, because of their primary caretaking role, female psychopaths are more likely to target their children. And that is exactly what happened in my case. And I had two sisters, but I'm not going to speak for them and their experience. We all had very unique circumstances and situations, and they've had their own trauma to deal with. But mine was different in that I was kind of referred to the sensitive one as we were growing up. I was super sensitive, super sympathetic. I had tremendous empathy from an early age, and I had integrity from an early age. And there's other articles I've referred to on here and so forth that describe that psychopaths are extreme narcissists. They hate that. They absolutely hate integrity. And it seems like my mom just extra targeted me, and that she overprotected my siblings and just targeted me, where if they ran away, she went all out to great extremes to find them and bring them back and protect them where when I ran away, that she literally just pushed me out. There was never any kind of acknowledgement that I was even gone or anything. And again, I don't want to, for my sisters, they've had their own trauma from all this. I can't speak to that. I'm not saying that, I hate, pointing out any kind of differences or anything. I just want people to understand. I want to be helpful here, and people understanding that I get what some people are dealing with out there that have been brought up in generations of this kind of trauma. And if this isn't addressed, we're going to have more and more unhealthy people. We're creating more sociopaths by doing this. And it's very important to understand this. And I know, like, the reason I do this show by myself is this makes people uncomfortable. Most of the people in my circles cannot identify whatsoever with what I experienced. And I get that, and I understand that, and I don't expect them to be able to. But I'm taking the responsibility of knowing that, again, there was purpose. There was purpose in the pain, and there was purpose in me surviving it. And I am so incredibly grateful to have survived it and to be where I'm at right now, for my dreams to be coming true, for me to be stepping into my destiny. That was very intentional, hard work. And I got to tell you, I sympathize. I'll get emotional on here. Can't help it. This is real stuff. This is, I've been telling you, it's real talk in real time. And I will get emotional because though I've healed and I'm whole, and when I talk about myself past tense, I don't even feel like I was that person, but I recognize other people that are dealing with that. And I'm going to get off on a rabbit trail here because one of the things that this made me think of is I had to be so tough. I had to be so strong growing up. I was in constant survival mode. I remember for more than half of my life having this kind of, I had this sympathy and this compassion, but at the same time, I had this attitude like, well, I knew what I'd overcome. If I can do it, why can't you? And, that made sense. That's pretty practical thinking, don't you think? It's pretty logical thinking. I've overcome a bunch. I mean, to have grown men molesting you when you're a child, have a female babysitter taking advantage of you, trying to have an adult sexual relationship with you. I could give you some really shocking, horrific tales on here about what I overcame and what I survived. And I did come out of it quite a bit crazy, but I'm still a little crazy. But you know what? When you have a good heart, you can get away with crazy. If you have a good heart, be all the crazy you want to be. It's the people that come out bitter instead of better. And I can't explain why my psyche, how I knew to make these decisions and how I had this. I was just so determined to stay true to my heart. I just really cared, and so it's really hard to help people understand that I really get how tremendously difficult it is to overcome. And here I was starting to become kind of callous and maybe not compassionate for others. I was still a very caring, naive, kind of happy-go-lucky Pollyanna, but I did not understand why, if I could overcome everything I've overcome, why can't you? And that kind of explains a lot why I've had to be humbled a little bit. It was no surprise to me that when in my early 40s, when I got struck with as a single mom, and I got struck with a very confusing illness that took me down for the count. And I'll tell you, that wasn't long after I kind of got my introduction to Jesus. And it wasn't a surprise to me that, maybe I need to go through a little something here. Because I didn't know what I didn't know, but I knew that I wasn't right. I was not right. And only because it's so confusing when you do have integrity and you care about people so deeply and you want to serve and help so much, yet you just keep finding yourself in worse situations. That is confusing. That's why that leads to insanity, because you're repeating cycles of this craziness and you're so confused. you can't figure out why. I get it. I totally understand how that could happen. And what a lot that resulted in for me was PTSD. We hear about post-traumatic stress disorder, and we mostly think of veterans and the horrific things they have to go through. And it's just no surprise that it would affect them tremendously, and there would be negative consequences because of some of the things they experience. But for me, it's called complex PTSD that I've had to overcome. And there's a lot of people out there dealing with complex PTSD like I did for years, not having a clue there's anything wrong with them. And that's scary stuff. And I'm going to share more about that, but we got to go to break. So stay with me here on Cindy's Choice. Thank you. Thank you for staying with us here for some insights with Cindy on Cindy's Choice. Ready to jump back in here as I was starting to talk about complex PTSD, because there's a lot of folks dealing with that and they don't have a clue that they're dealing with that. And that was me for many years, for decades. I did not know that was affecting me. But I want to jump back to this article again where I was reading about a psychopathic mother, because I was glancing at it while we were in the break. And I wanted to just share a little bit more about that so that you get what some folks are having to deal with. And maybe they won't be as extreme as the case of mine, but in many cases, it's way worse. It's way worse. And this is a psychopathic mother, which is a whole different, I think it's like the article says, we hear more about the sociopathic father, and that's mostly what's ends up in prison. That's why there are a lot more men in prison. This is a more of an issue, because if you go with traditional gender traits, it's more of an issue with men, but it's a pretty vicious issue with women as well. And in my book, from what I've seen, it still amazes me. I recognized, starting to pick up some of these traits. But again, even as a child, I was very intentional and very aware not to be that way, that I knew my mom had some issues. I never blamed her. I mean, there was a few quick episodes where, like when I gave birth to my daughter and first got this incredible revelation, these like a ton of bricks falling on me, that of what a mother's love was supposed to be. And that sent me kind of spiraling with some anger and depression and so forth. But for the most part, I was very intentional about not being that way. But there were some deeply, deeply rooted issues that I did not realize that were tripping me up left and right. But the article goes on to say, see what a good mother I am, because this is what is so tricky and so confusing about your kind of major narcissist or your kind of psychopathic, sociopathic personalities. My mom played supermom. And when others are watching, she was supermom when others were watching. She will make sure anyone who will listen knows what a great parent she is. In fact, she may come across as something as a martyr, a mother who sacrifices her own wants and needs for those of her offspring. Behind closed doors, though, she shows little or no genuine interest in nurturing or caring for the child and may subject the child to abuse or neglect. And it was extreme. I mean, I went without food as a child. I remember just one episode that just came to mind where we moved around a lot, and we'd had some neighbors in one neighborhood, and they were kind of aware of some of the mistreatment that was going on. So when we moved like blocks and blocks away, it was a long ways away, I remember being home alone with absolutely no food to eat. And when there was food, it was literally like white bread and jelly, and you just literally no protein ever, nothing healthy. It was just like a bare minimum to survive on. And I remember like a neighbor that, like an older teenage boy came by checking on this little 12-year-old girl, but thank goodness he was just really was concerned about me, because he knew that I was left without food a lot. And sure enough, he got there. I'm home alone, nothing to eat. And I just remember us walking around the corner, down the road a little bit, to a 7-Eleven convenience store. And my next memory is standing literally outside of that 7-Eleven, eating tuna out of a can. I must have been just craving protein like nothing else. And that was probably like, the healthiest kind of most closest thing we could find to a meal in a 7-Eleven at the time. I don't remember the details, but those particular moments stand out to me vividly. I could just go on forever about just literally not even being fed. And again, that I was left home alone extensively. Then when she was home, I was walking on eggshells, because I did not want to trigger episodes so that she would start being abusive with me and beating me, and then I'd have to run away. So it was just a constant thing. And the article goes on to say, the psychopathic mother doesn't see her child as a separate person. Instead, the child is viewed as a personal possession whose sole purpose is to meet her mother's needs. Mother-child interactions are very controlling, and any affection is tied to behavior that feeds the mother's ego. Natural resistance or rebellion or the part on the part of the child is viewed as betrayal and is met with harsh criticism or punishment to bring him or her back in line. In fact, she cannot allow her child to develop normally because of her need to mold him or her into exactly who she wants. And she desperately tried to corrupt me. She exploited me. She handed me over to pedophiles. She took me to bars when I was very young. It was a horrendous thing. And, I'm sitting here and I'm saying this out loud on the radio, and it's like, oh my gosh, this really happened. This really happened. It seems like fiction now to me. And, I got to tell you, to be at a place where I can look back and talk about that. And it's not easy. That's why I say Cindy's choice is to be brave and make a difference. But if I don't get vulnerable, if I don't start helping you understand, I know a little something in this area, then I'm not going to be able to help you understand a lot of what we're dealing with in our society and what's going to get worse if we don't start leading with love. We've got to. I love it. Mark Height joined me on the show last Wednesday, and thank you again, Mark Height. He's so awesome coming on board to support Cindy's choice like he is, and that's Mark Height of the Mark Height team, Keller Williams Downtown Realtors. And he says, lead with seeking to understand. And I was like, ooh, I love that. I'm going to steal that, Mark, because we've got to lead with love and seeking to understand. We just don't know. We just don't know what others are dealing with and going through. So I kind of wanted to read a little definition here of complex PTSD. And that's a lot what's developing when you're in perpetual danger like that. And it says PTSD typically results from short-lived trauma or traumas of time-limited duration. Complex PTSD stems from chronic, long-term exposure to trauma in which a victim has limited belief it will ever end or cannot foresee a time that it might. I'm going to read that again. Exposure to trauma in which a victim has limited belief it will ever end or cannot foresee a time that it might. This can include child abuse, long-term domestic violence, being held in captivity, living in crisis conditions, a war zone, child exploitation, human trafficking, and more. Now, I got to tell you what comes to mind for me right here. And I'm not justifying anything at all. But, exposure to trauma in which a victim has limited belief it will ever end. So what have we been hearing about? This, me processing here with you is helping me even go to a deeper level of understanding about what the Black people are trying to help us understand. That this has been going on for so long. It's conditioning so many in their culture to have this kind of perspective. It is not even a perspective that you choose. This is a conditioning. This is a grooming. This is a mental condition, and I can say that because I've had this mental condition. And when you're raised in this perpetual fear with people that have been conditioned to that same fear, it's going to cause you some issues, and it's going to be very hard for you to understand differently than what you have personally experienced and been conditioned to understand. Now, again, not justifying anything. I'm focused on one thing here and just seeking to understand. I'm leading with love, and I'm seeking to understand based on my own personal experience. I don't ever, not ever, try to identify or relate with walking in anyone else's shoes. You just can't do that. You can just never know what anyone is dealing with. We're all on our own personal journey. And that's a lot what I'm using this platform to talk about. I've been on a journey, let me tell you, but it's led to a really good place. And now you wouldn't believe the process it's taken for me to get to a place where I can share so freely. It has been, I'm telling you, people have encouraged me. They've pushed me. And it's not about me. It's my passion and my desire. I can't help others if I don't get this out there. And if I don't process it even deeper, even more, I'll tell you, I processed some late fall. It was late fall last year. I was processing on the radio that I finally got revelation how much my mother really hated me. It was pretty powerful. And I have to tell you that the emotion of hate and revenge and all that hit me. It's something I don't ever go there anymore. It would take a lot to get me there. But I recognized immediately what was happening, and I made a decision. I made a choice. No, I'm not going to hate her. I am not going to blame her. I am going to seek to understand. I'm going to keep loving her. Now, is it okay for me to separate myself from her? Yeah. No, strongly suggest that. One of my articles here in one of these stacks of paper, it said that is part of healing. If you have a perpetrator that keeps perpetrating, it's your responsibility to get away from them. And that's tricky and confusing in itself. Because there's, I want to read, this is another article. I want to read something about that because I fell victim to this. I'll have to do that when we get back. We'll have a little bit of time. I'll hit on that real quick. I've got a couple quick announcements, but hey, stay with me here. More Insights with Cindy when we get back. Thank you. Thank you for staying with us here on Cindy's Choice. I'm going to jump back in. We've got a little bit of time left here. I want to read a quick paragraph here. The perception of one's perpetrators. This can be one of the most insidious battles for some survivors with complex PTSD. Even if it seems crystal clear to those on the outside, victims of such prolonged trauma may eventually surrender, assuming their abuser's total power over them, possibly even maintaining this belief once they're free. This was me. I'll always be under their thumb. They call all the shots. They may even know what's best for me more than I ever will. Others may feel deep sadness and profound guilt, or just the thought of leaving them. That was me. I was just riddled with horrible guilt if I didn't take care of my mother, including long after they've successfully left, if they were able to leave. Some may remain transfixed by their abuser's charming side or the warm public persona that everyone loves. It may feel truly impossible to think ill of them. Many hold a constant longing for their abusers to just love them. Can you imagine? Of course, you're going to do that when it's your mother. Craving their praise well into adulthood, slaving away in their personal lives just to make them proud. I did that for 30 years and even longer than that, for much longer. But when I had my daughter at age 30, it was a major, major revelation to me. It just yanked me out of denial. It was very traumatic. It just turned my world upside down because I didn't know how to process everything that had happened to me. But I'm going to keep talking about this every Friday, Insights with Cindy. I want to definitely say, I had to suffer the consequences of my ignorance, of my bad conditioning, of my confusion and misunderstanding of why I was trying so hard in life, and that I had such compassion and empathy and was trying my best to have integrity. And my life was a constant cycle of defeat. I just can't. We'll be touching on the trauma, the abusive situations, the homelessness, and so forth that I dealt with as an adult. But I want you to understand this, because there are some people in some major, major bad psyche because of this kind of conditioning, and I don't know how to help. But I know it starts here. It starts with seeking to understand. It starts with leading with love. And it starts with me being brave and making a difference by being vulnerable and starting to kind of open up the conversation. And I'm hearing a lot about that, and I'm going to do my part. Hey, thank you. Thank you for joining me. I want to thank Mark Hyde again for coming on board with me and coming on the show last Wednesday and encouraging more businesses to come on board with Cindy's Choice. We'll be talking about that again this Wednesday with Ivan Meisner, who's the founder of BNI Business Network International. That's pretty exciting to have him joining us on Wednesday. Hey, thank you, ChattanoogaBreakfastRotary.com. They've invited me to speak on June 15th, and I do get invited to share more about my story of transitioning off the streets, literally navigated my way. When you navigate and network your way off the streets to start a movement of sorts, hey, it goes way deeper than grassroots. So thank you for tuning in tonight. Tune in the morning, Outside with Cindy. Hey, Dr. Justin from the Joint Chiropractic, a Cindy's Choice Select service that you'll find at cindyschoice.com. Dr. Justin's back in the Zoom studio with me. We're welcoming Steve Carter of Fleet Feet. They're both over there at the North Shore, and I'm very, very excited to have them on, helping me encourage folks to get outside and get active in our wonderful outdoor scenic city. And that's Saturday. I covered Wednesday. Next Friday, I'll be back here. Hey, I get to follow those crazy guys on Sport Talk. Kurt's been on this week. I love hearing Kurt. I love hearing Kurt and Cowboy together, but Kurt and Quake are great together. And then all those guys, they do such a good job. They keep us laughing at a time we really do need to laugh. They're even more humorous now. They have to be funny because there's no sports to talk about. So tune into those guys 3 to 7 every afternoon, and keep tuning in here. And thank you. I just appreciate your support. This is I'm celebrating and collaborating this community. By God, it's going to happen, and we're going to do some good, and we're going to come out of this COVID and these tornado damage and these riots and this trauma. We're going to come out of this stronger and better, Chattanooga. Nooga Strong 2020, cindyschoice.com. Go follow me. Go like my page, Cindy's Choice. Thank you. And thank you, Kurt, for producing. And that's a wrap.